Hello, in this video we will discuss about the overview of the homeostasis and thermoregulation. So the type of homeostasis with respect to the heat exchange in our body, as well as the plant we will also discuss about in this video. So the thermoregulation means the maintenance of the internal temperature as compared to the fluctuation of the outer environmental temperature. So the protection of internal environment from the harms of fluctuation in external environment is known as the thermoregulation, is known as the homeostatic thermoregulation. So the homeostatic thermoregulation we will discuss in this video. So here is, for example, the radiation in the form of sunlight which that is absorbed in our body to increase the temperature, while the heat are present in the external environment is also increased, as well as the exercise which that is increase the oxygen consumption and increase the heat production. So the normal temperature is the 37 to 36 Celsius degree Celsius temperature in our body, which that is constantly maintained in our body. And why? Because normal function performed in our body is the normal range of the temperature. So for example, during we will eat the eating time, so the temperature will be rise slightly, for example 37.5 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius. So that temperature is why, because during the eating which that is consumed the energy and produce heat, as well as during the digestion it is also produce the heat, and 37 degree rise to 37.5 degrees Celsius temperature during eating and exercise as well. While on the other hand, the basic is that during the increase the metabolism, when we will decrease the metabolism during the rest and digest time. So that is the parasympathetic nervous system will be enhanced, while on the other hand the sympathetic nervous system during the exercise, which that is increase the metabolism as well as increase the heat energy, which that is increase the heat in our body, which that is evaporate, we will discuss here. So the heat loss when temperature rise. So during the heat loss it is three types: conduction, radiation, as well as the convection. So the first of all we will discuss about the conduction. So here is the person which that is, for example, conduction means the cold or warm metal which that is attached in our body to transfer the heat due to the law of thermodynamic, which that is heat transfer from one place to another. So it means metal can transfuse the heat into the body, or if the metal is cold, so it means the 37 degrees Celsius below that our body temperature, so the heat will be moved out into the metal and metal will be absorbed. On the other hand, the radiation is due to waves in the medium, in the environment. So the absorption or emission of the radiation due to the in the form of radiation for maintenance and homeostasis of the thermostatic. So the thermoregulation will be occur. So here's the evaporation is the another ways, which that is the evaporation is the loss of water due to the sweating. So if the absorb the in from the that is, it is known as the conduction. And convection means that here is the fire, for example, will absorb the heat or emit the heat into the environment. So here let's begin to understand the skin is the major organ for the thermoregulation, which that is constantly vasodilation and vasoconstriction on the basis of sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So let's begin to understand. Here is the skin. So here is the blood circulatory system. Basically the heart will pump out more blood into the skin vessel, which that is the skin containing blood vessel, which that is dilation. So the vasodilation, vaso means the vessel and dilation means the increase of the volume of the vessel due to the sympathetic nervous system, and the adrenaline and basically the epinephrine hormone, which that is play important role. While on the other hand, here is the radiation and water evaporation and convection will be occurring in the skin. For the emission of the radiation or emission of the heat energy from the skin to maintain internal body if the temperature will be rise, so that vasodilation, while the vasoconstriction means the constriction of the blood vessel, so near the blood near the heart, it means the blood will not pump more blood into the skin blood vessel. So vital organ is important for the maintain the temperature, so the vital organ is contain a more blood and the skin contain a less blood circulation. So that is why during the hot weather the blood vessel will be dilate. So here is the hair for prevent of loss of heat, so that is why it is during the cold weather, so the radiation will be absorbed from the sunlight during the cold weather, while during the hot weather the radiation will be emit. So here is the basically the thermoregulation is two types, three types we will discuss about the with respect to the environment. So here is the environmental temperature. For example, the 39 degrees Celsius temperature, it means the loss of heat from body, while on the other hand the environmental temperature fluctuation is thermoneutral zone is also present, which that is the 27 to 30 degree Celsius temperature. In this range, our body is not actively fluctuate and giving the sweating more as well as the radiation production. So that is why it is a normal condition. While on the other hand, the loss of heat due to the excess environmental heat absorbed in our body to rise the temperature will loss of heat, and on the other hand during the cold weather minus 15 degrees Celsius temperature for example absorb the heat and thermogenesis will be occur. Thermogenesis is two type, shivering thermogenesis and non-shivering thermogenesis. Shivering thermogenesis, which that is the contraction of the muscle which that is increase the heat production, while on the other hand the non-shivering thermogenesis without the contraction of muscle due to the hormonal changes, for example the thyroid gland will produce the ATP more to increase the temperature. So important thing is that is the hypothalamus in our body, which that is thermostatic or thermostat like function, which that is control the fluctuation of heat production in our body, which that is giving the normal range. So here is the brain, which contain a hypothalamus and pituitary gland. This hypothalamus is basically give the signal during the heat and cold environment in our body temperature in our body. So basically here is the pituitary gland and hypothalamus, which that is hypothalamus play important role for the heat homeostasis, negative and positive feedback mechanism. In this way, the when heat will be decrease in the outer environment, it means the body will be rise the temperature inside. So that is the positive feedback mechanism. In this way, if the heat will be decreased in the outer region and cold weather will be occur, so it means the heat production in our body, while during the hot weather the heat will be absorbed from the outside to inside as well as the heat production from the hypothalamus. So the antagonistic work basically is the both situation is for the homeostasis. So the heat homeostasis is basically heat homeostasis we will discuss. Here is the skin is contain a sweating gland, a sebaceous gland as well as the hair is used for the cold weather for protection from the loss of heat, while on the other hand the sweating gland is used for the hot weather during the increasing or rising of the temperature. So the rising of the temperature will lead to stimulate the hypothalamus to decrease the temperature. So the thermoreceptor are present in our skin, which that is detect the heat and give the signal to our brain, and the hypothalamus will be control that situation. So while here is you can see that here is the vasodilation and vasoconstriction will be occur due to the hypothalamus if the give the heat production. So that is why the so during the vasodilation due to the hot weather, so it means the loss of heat. So that is why the hypothalamus will trigger the vasodilation, while the vasoconstriction is due to the sympathetic nervous system, which that is increase the inside body temperature for the visceral organ as well as the vital organ, and the basically other organ will be cool down while the inside is the temperature rise. So that is why the vasodilation as vasoconstriction is the alternation of the heat production, alternation of the heat, basically the changes of the environment internally. So the temperature classification and animal, if we will discuss about the poikilotherms as well as the homeotherms. So the poikilotherms is basically reptile, amphibian and fish. In this way the osamoconformers. Why? Because it change body temperature inside with respect to the outer environment. For example, the outer environment is contain a 36 degrees Celsius. So inside the body temperature is equalized. So that it is type of endotherms and ectotherms. It means the heat produces from inside, for example birds, fishes inside, and ectotherms which that is carry the heat from the outside out of the environmental heat, is the heat absorbed from outside. So the invertebrates, reptiles and fish, that is the also categorized we can. On the other hand, the homeotherm which that is maintain the body temperature, for example mammals and birds, and maintain their body temperature inside. So the heterotherms is another, basically is the homeotherms and heterotherms. Heterotherms do not regulate body temperature, but some animal maintain body temperature but hibernation and endothermic heat production, but hibernation will be occur, which that is the uh, decrease the body metabolism and temperature for long term in the cold season, for example, or so that is why for decreasing the metabolism to maintain their internal body, for the production of heat will be less, so the consumption of the food will be less. So the thermoregulation in plant, we will discuss about the adaptation on the basis of thermoregulation. So the high temperature denature the enzyme and damage the physiology, and the metabolism will be damaged and kill the plant. So that is why the plant is also adaptable and adapt according to the hot and cold temperature in the environment. So let's begin to understand with the details. So here is the basically the plant. These plants are present, for example, is cold temperature or the hot temperature or warm temperature. So that means here is, for example, the cold temperature, for example 40 degrees Celsius temperature in the environment. So the plant will be maintain their internal structure. So here is the heat shock protein, which that is also important, that is also present in our body, which that is maintained, and heat shock protein which give the normal function in our body, so help to prevent denaturation of enzyme and protein in our body as well as the plant. So that is why it is used for the heat shock protein during the hot weather. And one more important thing is that the stomata will be closed if the water will be decreased. If the water is increased in our environment, so that stomata on the other hand closure or opening is due to the water stress. So basically if the water stress, so stomata will be closed for the preservation of the water. So heat shock protein work here, but if excess of water will lead to opening of the stomata for losing of the water, and close stomata to lose water during dry weather, while on the other hand the water excess of the water will lead to open the stomata, will lead to evaporation of water to decrease the heat production, decrease the heat inside of the plant, to cool down the plant due to the evaporation. So that is known as the transpiration. That is, the transpiration is important for the thermoregulation. And on the other hand, the here is the, if low temperature during the cold weather, for example the minus 20 degrees Celsius, so the ice crystal formation. So this ice crystal formation will be occur due to the water and the loss of fluidity and lipids in plasma membrane and locked into crystal. That is the basically transport solute will be inhibited due to the ice crystal formation, as well as the supercool liquid of the cytoplasm are not present. If so, the plant will be adapt to increase the supercool liquid of the cytoplasm, and the unsaturated fatty acid prevents to form crystal in low temperature. So the unsaturated fatty acid production in the plasma membrane for the maintenance of the normal function. So the unsaturated fatty acid importance of the unsaturated fatty acids is that it's prevent to crystallized formation as compared to the saturated fatty acid, because the saturated fatty acid in the room temperature is a solid as compared to the unsaturated fatty acid, which that is the liquid form in the room temperature also, even the hot, even the more cold weather. So the adaptation is the basically we will discuss a structural, physiological, and we will discuss and the subdermal fatty layers in insulation and peelage. So here is you can see the fatty layer is developed for the insulation, and sweating is due to the sweat gland, and here is used for the prevention of the loss of heat. On the other hand, the lungs for evaporation and breathing during the evaporation, and the panting and for the some animal and through saliva spreading in body and breathing evaporation. For example, here is you can see in the dog. And behavioral adaptation means behavioral change in the body. For example, light is during the daytime, the sunrise, so the animal will open their body or expose the body, while during the cold temperature they will hide themselves for for prevention of loss of heat. So the internal temperature will be normal, and the normal physiological function will be occur due to the maintenance. So this is the homeostasis of the thermoregulation.